It's a high-speed police chase as the suspect bails out of his...
From lethal high-speed pursuits to life-threatening encounters, police officers put everything on the line when it comes to keeping us safe.
Hey! You're gonna get tased! You're gonna get tased!
And this video is all about that as I uncover some of the most dangerous ways cops have stopped running suspects. Number 1. High-tech grappler. After a high-speed pursuit through the busy streets of Florida, these police officers finally have their chance to take down this yellow sports car. Luckily for them, it loses control, but just as it's about to speed off, the cops pull out their special new toy. It's a high-tech grappler that jams the car's wheel, preventing it from speeding off. Number 2. Out of control Tesla. This fleeing Tesla is still zooming through traffic on a busy Arizona highway, despite getting spiked a few blocks back. The cops successfully pit the Tesla, but it only spins out of control. They clip the back bumper of the police vehicle, causing it to lose control and slam into the metal guardrail. The Tesla eventually regained control and tried to speed off, only to be rammed hard by a police SUV, finally ending the dangerous chase. Number 3. Intense chase comes to an end. As soon as this officer steps out of his vehicle, he's forced to take cover as an entire magazine goes off. The cops have been chasing an armed suspect for quite some time now, and he's finally been taken down after threatening to open fire. We can see the suspect on the ground after getting hit multiple times. It seems like the officers are taking a moment to regroup and ensure safety before moving in and finally arresting the suspect. This probably has to be the most dangerous way of stopping a fleeing suspect because you never know when these suspects lose it. Number 4. Stolen Porsche. Chasing down a stolen Porsche is probably a bad day for cops since the cars are just so fast. But this Porsche takes a really good beating as the driver continues to get away even after the cop attempts numerous PT maneuvers. With the highway just around the corner, this cop needs to think of something fast, considering how things could get really serious if the suspect speeds off. The police are left with no other option but to ram their vehicle into the stolen Porsche, pushing it off the road. The suspects attempt to dash into the woods, but we can see how he cuffed and was brought back a couple of moments later. Number 5. Stopping a drunk driver. After terrorizing the streets with a beat-up minivan for hours, this drunk suspect had no idea he was about to be stopped in style. Watch as this police officer executes the perfect spike strip to blow all of the minivan's tires and stop this suspect from doing serious damage. Everything about that throw is just perfect. The timing, the placement, everything. Number 6. Rammed off the road. This red car has been leading them on a dangerous chase through busy streets for the past hour. The police have avoided a tactical intervention since it's too risky considering all the public on the roads. But this cop has had enough, and as soon as he spots an opening, he slams the car from the side and finally gets the suspect to stop. Another police car strikes the final nail as it rams into the red car, pushing it off the road, with several officers rushing in to make the arrest. If you looked closely, there was someone standing on the edge of the road just moments before the cop side swiped the getaway vehicle. Just imagine what would have happened if the fleeing vehicle went in the wrong direction. Number 7. A face full of concrete. This body cam shows a police officer in contact with a rape suspect. At first, the man seems to be complying with orders as he gets down and puts his hands behind his back. Another officer then rushes to the scene to cuff him, but that's when he makes the worst mistake of his life. As soon as he attempts to sprint away, the officer tases him, but surprisingly, the suspect still has enough juice to keep going. The officer then reloads his taser and fires another shot at him, and watching him fall face first into the pavement is perhaps the most satisfying thing ever. Anyway, he's cuffed and later found guilty, being sentenced to 18 years behind bars. Number 8. A series of dumb decisions. A cop is seen investigating this white vehicle when all of a sudden the driver inside decides to make a run for it. Another officer responds to the call and positions his SUV to block off this suspect's vehicle, but his first mistake is ramming a police car. The cop responds to this suspect's aggression as he punches the gas and plows his car into the fence. The officers then try to arrest this fool, but that's when he makes his second mistake as he attempts to run off on foot. He then flies after getting tased before slamming the concrete hard. The police finally cuff and throw him in the back. Number 9. A hit and run. Lake Worth cops take things seriously. This police SUV is racing towards a fleeing suspect, and when they finally spot the suspect running on foot, they're left with no other option but to run him over and arrest him. Oh, and I find it funny how the first thing the cop says is, "Get on the ground," after literally putting him on the ground. Number 10. Parkour. This footage is incredible. This cop was on fire from the moment he stepped out of his vehicle to chase this suspect. He's seen jumping several fences, and when you think about it, this cop also had a ton of gear on. And the fact that he was able to not only keep up with the suspect, but also arrest him after an intense and tiring chase is amazing. I believe all cops need to have this level of fitness. Number 11. An abrupt ending. Sometimes the police have to choose whether to stop someone right there and then, or to wait and see what happens. And in this particular scenario, the police did not want to risk anything, as the footage shows a police car running over a man. The man was suspected of theft and had a firearm on him, and the police thought he could open fire at any point, making the situation extremely ugly. I don't know what to say about this one, though. Number 12. Not the cops. The police are attempting to arrest these suspects in a car park as one of them attempts to speed off in a vehicle. He's arrested, though, but another suspect in a gray hoodie takes off on foot. And that's when the real chase begins. The suspect makes this cop run for his money, and at one point in the footage, it almost seems as if he's going to get away. But I'm not sure why this guy jumps off the parking deck, falling 55 feet right onto the pavement. Surprisingly, he survived the fall, but I'm sure he probably had a couple of broken bones in his body. Number 13. He had it coming. This guy wasn't exactly a running suspect, but he thought he could get out of this situation by threatening a police officer with a knife. Believe it or not, he even managed to stab the officer through his ballistic vest. But when things started to get out of hand, this suspect met his fate. A police officer was forced to take action when he attempted to stab him as well. I mean, he had it coming. What was he even expecting to come out of this situation? Number 14. A scene out of a Hollywood movie. This is as crazy as it gets, ladies and gentlemen. This was supposed to be a routine stop, but when officers noticed the driver getting a little shaky, one of the cops gets in front of the vehicle to prevent the driver from speeding off, but he ultimately has to hop on the hood as that doesn't happen. The cop is literally clinging on for his life as the suspect races through traffic. While the officer is in great danger, this helps trailing officers since this suspect cannot get away with a cop hanging off the hood. Anyway, as the suspect speeds through a ditch, the cop finally falls off, and in case you think the suspect escaped, you're wrong. He was eventually caught and arrested a few miles ahead, and as for the cop, he unfortunately broke his back, but that's one dangerous way to stop a fleeing suspect. Number 15. Police dog leads the chase. It's not always the cops who stop suspects. Sometimes their trusted partners step in to save the day, and this footage shows exactly that as we see a K9 bring a fleeing suspect to justice. As soon as this guy spots the dog, he knows he's in trouble. The dog doesn't waste a second and immediately latches onto his arm, making him cry like a baby. When the cop shows up, the K9 eventually calms down, but it's hilarious how this guy is crying. Believe it or not, he tries again, only to be caught a few moments later with the K9 terrorizing him for a second time. Number 16. No kids were harmed in this video. If this chase already wasn't crazy enough, things take a drastic turn when the fleeing suspect enters a daycare center to escape the cops. The cop whips open the door, forcing the perp to make a run for it again as he suddenly takes a sharp left-right into a daycare. The suspect leaps into a small play area, and that's exactly the moment a cop tases him as he hits the ground hard. What's interesting is there's a small child awfully close to all this action, and I'm glad nothing happened to them. Anyway, talk about a dangerous chase. From the empty streets to a daycare. Things got dramatic pretty fast. Number 17. A tiring foot pursuit. This cop probably trained for this moment his entire life as he rides down a staircase on his bicycle. Honestly speaking, it's very smoothly done, but this is just the start of the chase, as he soon has to give his two-wheeler up to chase this guy on foot. Just looking at this footage makes me tired as they're running up and down staircases and escalators. There's even a point when the officer is running on what appears to be subway tracks, but it seems very hectic. And I think it finally catches up to the suspect as well when the officer finds him worn out on a staircase with no energy to go any longer. Number 18. Not the best getaway ride. The police received a call in the middle of the night about a suspect who literally held an entire business at gunpoint. They immediately rushed to the scene, only to find the suspect trying to evade the cops on a scooty. Yape, not an electric scooty or anything either, an old-school scooty. Anyway, one of the cops quickly catches up to him and throws him down on the pavement to arrest him. Now, the dangerous thing about this little chase was that the guy was armed and had multiple rounds of ammunition along with body armor. I'm glad the cops were able to arrest him before anything went wrong. Number 19. Usain Bolt. Is that you? This suspect attempts to make a run for it, literally running on top of cars before leading an entire squad of policemen on a foot chase. Unfortunately for him, though, he doesn't know Usain Bolt is also on the squad. This police officer literally overtakes everyone. Even with several pounds of gear on him, he hops fences and stays on the suspect's tail the entire time. Just as the suspect attempts to climb over another fence, we can see him going down. It turns out he got tasered at the last moment, putting a sudden end to this chase. Number 20. Traffic stop gone wrong. What would you choose? A ticket or getting tased? Well, this dumb suspect chose the latter as he led police on a foot chase after a traffic stop went wrong. He appears to be running on a busy freeway in the dark, and fortunately, he gets tased at just the right time, going down on some nice fluffy grass. Now imagine just how messed up it could have gotten if he had gone on the freeway. That would not have ended well. Number 21. An action movie. The guy in the red is a burglar, and he's trying to outrun the cops on some field. One of the police vehicles brushes him to try to get him to stop, but he just gets back up and keeps going. Then we see a police officer sprinting after him. The cop tackles him hard and finally puts an end to things as backup arrives to arrest this suspect. Now, want to hear the interesting bit? This cop literally jumped out of a helicopter to make this arrest. Number 22. How to get shot in the arm. This suspect is trying to flee the cops in a stolen Nissan, but luck clearly isn't on his side as one of the tires burst. He's forced to get out of the car and make a run for it, but he spots a blue Honda and tries to jack it. The driver thinks quickly and immediately speeds off with this dude hanging on for his life. The blue Honda then stops, and that's when a cop literally rams an SUV into this suspect. He still refuses to go down and tries to steal the car once again, with the cops warning to stop before they open fire. What happens next? Well, the cop does exactly what he said as he opens fire, hitting the suspect on his arm. Number 23. Not a bright one. This footage is from a helicopter assisting on-ground units in pursuit of this Mustang. After zooming through a quiet neighborhood, the driver stops in the middle of the street and makes a run for it towards the woods. Now, you'd probably think this is the end of it since there's no sight of him. But this suspect makes the worst decision of his life as he tries to swim his way out of an arrest. Even with several kgs of equipment, the cops are able to catch up and apprehend him in the water. Still pretty dangerous though, if you ask me, because who knows what this guy could have done to these officers in the water. Number 24. Another one bites the dust. I think hitting this guy with the police car is completely justified, because why is he running away in the first place? And if you look at it closely, he wasn't even hit that hard, to be honest. Anyway, soon after he goes down, there's an entire crowd of people calling out the cop for what he did. But yeah, credit to the officer, considering he was quick to acknowledge what he did, since this guy was clearly trying to make a run for it. Number 25. Another K9 saves the day. When this cop arrives on the scene, he knows this is a job for his K9. He whips open the door and lets the dog fly out as he guides it towards the suspect. After seeing a dangerous K9 running towards him, the suspect freezes as the dog latches onto his arm. All we hear after is the suspect crying for mercy as the K9 gets the job done in style. Number 26. Wild chase through Walmart. This murder suspect appears to be window shopping when the police rush up on her, leading to a wild chase through Walmart. It's extremely intense as she's trying her level best to get away, but the cops have a strategy. What this girl doesn't know is that there's another cop aware of movements, and just as she tries to exit this aisle, she spots him and gives in. She's smart for complying right away because this could have ended much differently. Number 27. Oncoming traffic. Can you believe this guy got out of a stolen car and led the police towards oncoming traffic on a busy freeway in Detroit? He's lucky the cars started to slow down, otherwise he'd be soup, but this minivan can't seem to stop in time and hits the suspect just hard enough to throw him up on the roof. Police surround the car to make sure he can't get away until one cop literally runs up the minivan onto the roof and spears the suspect off the car. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. Number 28. Subway Surfer. This is just like that addictive game. The police officers are getting off the subway, and that's when they spot a phone thief making a run for it. One of the officers gets in on it, and we can see him chase this kid through the subway station before finally making it out on the streets. The chase goes on for a little longer before the cop finally shoves this thief down on the ground and cuffs him up for a trip to jail. Number 29. Bringing a bat to a gunfight. This guy isn't exactly trying to flee or anything, but he seems to be causing ruckus outside what appears to be a bank or an office. He's smacking the bat on the window, trying to achieve God knows what before he's tackled hard by an officer from the rear. The man literally ricochets forward like a rag doll before other security personnel step in to assist the officer. Number 30. That hurt. I'm not going to lie, even I felt this one. This fleeing driver exits his vehicle and tries to make a run for it after he leads the cop on a dangerous foot pursuit. His first disadvantage is running barefoot, and the second one is getting a deputy who takes absolutely zero BS. He tases the suspect mid-chase, and watch him smack the pavement is excruciating. That must have hurt. Number 31. Another one. This is some more footage of a dumb suspect who got taken down dangerously after a cop tased him mid-chase. It's clear this guy would have eventually given in since he isn't exactly built for endurance. But after getting tased on his bare torso, he slams into a car and falls onto the burning pavement. Number 32. The Matrix. Remember when several agents rushed Neo to take him down in the Matrix? Well, you're going to see the same exact thing in this footage. This out-of-control suspect has been messing with the cops for hours, but they finally had enough. Several officers rushed in to arrest the suspect, but I don't think they had realized how dangerous this was. See, with so many cops around, the guy could have gotten his hands on any of their weapons, and that could have led to a really sticky situation. Either way, I was surprised how it took almost 12 guys to neutralize him. Number 33, armed suspect on the loose. This armed suspect makes a sudden run for it after police have him cornered at a gas station. As he's running, he reaches for something and the cops realize he's armed. They keep warning him to drop the weapon and get on the ground, but this dude does not comply. Judging from the footage, I think he fired the shot by mistake, but you have to realize what would have happened if aimed towards the cops. There are people behind them in cars on the main road, and the same with the suspect. He's running beside a parking lot, so who knows if someone is in the vehicle if the cops decide to shoot. Thankfully, it doesn't come to that, and this is arrested without anyone getting harmed. That's it for today's video, folks. So what do you think? Which arrest did you find most dangerous in this video? Let me know in the comments below. Now, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more interesting videos in the future.